Okay, so this is episode 3 of the Neon 1000, which is basically me exploring this book, which came with an issue of Neon magazine in the late 90s. 1,000 essential movies to own on video, all broken down into convenient little sections, like movies about TV, Hitman movies, etc. I've wanted for a long time to go through these, try and watch every movie that's in here, and I have ticked off quite a few over the years, but I probably haven't even done half of them. So this is a little journey into my completing this mammoth task, and this particular episode I'm going to be looking at one of the films that's featured in it, and something more modern that is kind of in a similar vein. So we've got Yellow Submarine from 1968, the Beatles animated film, and Interstella 555, the story of the secret star system from 2003. It's not too far after this was published, which is the Daft Punk anime movie. Yeah, let's jump in. So when I watched Yellow Submarine with my son, about halfway through, he said something along the lines of, "I don't think I'll ever see something as strange as this again," which pretty much sums up the movie. There isn't much of a story. There's a character called the Blue Meanie who invades Pepperland, wants to make everything miserable, and freezes everybody. A submarine captain called Old Fred travels to Liverpool, obviously, enlists the help of the Beatles, and they come to Pepperland and help liberate the people. There isn't much of a story, really. It's more a series of music videos, animated music videos, in all kinds of different styles. If you don't like the Beatles music, you're not going to be into this. John Lasseter, who obviously is most famous for directing Toy Story and Toy Story 2 and various other Pixar movies, credits the film as generating interest in animation as an art form. The film was directed by George Dunning, who was actually the producer on the Beatles animated show, which I didn't know existed until I started looking into this movie, which apparently ran from 1965 to 1967, and was the first weekly show to feature animated versions of real people. Lance Percival, who played Old Fred in the movie, he actually voiced Paul and Ringo in the TV show. The only other real notable voice actor in the film is Geoffrey Hughes, who is best known as Onslow in the BBC sitcom Keeping Up Appearances, and Twiggy in The Royal Family. Yeah, I mean, it's a weird movie. So at one point there was going to be a CGI motion capture remake from Robert Zemeckis. David Tennant apparently was in talks to be the Blue Meanie, but after the real poor box office of, I think it's his third motion capture movie, called Mars Needs Moms, Mom, that got scrapped. Another weird influence of the movie is the Blue Meanie, the wrestling personality, who was part of a faction called the Blue World Order, which was kind of like a spoof of a very large wrestling faction called the NWO, or the New World Order. Hulk Hogan basically became a bad guy. Yeah, that's about it, really. Not much you can say. There's not much of a story. There's not much to talk about. Some of the comedy bits are a bit jarring because it jumps from this weird comedy that the Beatles had in their other movies, like Hard Day's Night, Magical Mystery Tour, and with the music and the weird visuals, there is not a movie like this at all. You'll never see anything like this again. Okay, next we have Interstella 5555. 4 fives? The Story of the Secret Star System, which is the Daft Punk anime movie, which has almost no dialogue at all, hardly any sound effects. Pretty much the soundtrack is their second album, Discovery. There are a few slightly tweaked versions, slightly edited versions, obviously to make it fit in the film better. And they used footage from the film to make their music videos for the promotion of that album as well. Animated by Toei Animation, who are most well known for doing Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, Digimon and One Piece. So some very well known animations there. So the album came out in 2001, and then they used the footage for the singles One More Time from 2000, and then Digital Love and Harder, Better, Stronger, Faster both came out in 2001, and the film came out just after that. For those that don't know, Daft Punk are two French electronic musicians, and anime is quite a big thing in France. So yeah, why wouldn't you make an anime movie after your second album, for your second album? Idiot. They also made the soundtrack for Tron Legacy, which would have been their fourth album. So they are very much into movie making. So on the few reviews that I've done on YouTube before, I've finished with like a 3 recommendations, stuff you might watch if you've seen this. Because these 2 movies are based on music, and the Beatles' music and Daft Punk's music are very different. You have to look at it from a purely film perspective. Pink Floyd's The Wall, which is a bizarre combination of live action and animation. It's very dark. Michael Jackson's Moonwalker, completely different from Pink Floyd's music. Moonwalker is basically, anyone who was born in the 80s has seen this. Anyone outside, probably not. It's basically a bunch of music videos linked together with story. But it's an even more incoherent story than Yellow Submarine. It makes no sense at all. There's a bit where Michael Jackson is being chased by claymation fans. Then he turns into a donkey. I mean, it sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? Just trying to describe it. Fantasia, or even Fantasia 2000, which was like the remastered version with some extra bits in it, which is basically an anthology of animations set to pieces of classical music. So they're all very different from one another. There's dancing hippos, Mickey Mouse being a wizard. But yeah, there you go. That's it. Also, it's Daft Punk's Alive 2007, one of the best live albums ever made.